everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, for taking the time to come. I know there are many distractions, there are so many incredible sessions, so it's an honor that you chose this session to be here with us today. As you see, we are 4 speakers, and the topic is about embracing failure for empathetic leadership. My name is Effie, and I am a high-performance coach, and I come originally from Greece, but I live in the UK, in London. And my background is in PR, marketing, and branding. I've worked with many global brands, and my passion is coaching. I work mainly with entrepreneurs and business professionals, delivering leadership workshops, and helping them with mindset, confidence, and strategy for their businesses. So I will start first, just because this is the order. And I have given other talks in this amazing event, and it's the first time I'm standing here because many of you prefer to stand here. But I thought today to challenge myself, because I was thinking, why do you insist not coming here? So let's see how that works. And I have already introduced myself, and now I've done this, I would like to start with a little bit of my story to set a little bit of tone as we were talking about failure. So as I mentioned, I come from Greece, and when I was 10 years old, and I thought that my life was perfect, I was having the perfect childhood with 2 parents loving me, and I really experienced abundance. Something happened, and what happened is my mom, after suffering 2 years of depression, she took her own life by jumping from the 8th floor of a building. And the reason this happened, as I mentioned, was that she was depressed. But depression doesn't happen, you just don't wake up one day and you have depression. So she was struggling a lot with personal and professional parts of her life. She was in a marriage, and she was not receiving the support that she needed, and also she was running her own business. That's one of the reasons I'm very passionate about supporting entrepreneurs and business owners. She was running her own business, which had accumulated a big amount of debt. And what happened is, the reason I believe that my mom, and based on the conversation, the little things that she used to tell me back then when I was a child, the reason that my mom got depressed is the way she perceived the things that was happening in her life. So the fact that she was not receiving the support from her partner, and the fact that she was running a business that was not financially successful anymore, believed that it was a reflection of her self-worth. She believed that these situations were irreversible, and they were a reflection of her own value as a human being in this world. However, no external circumstances are a reflection of our self-worth, because external circumstances are always temporary. I couldn't stress this more. Whether you see them as positive or whether you see them as negative, these circumstances are always temporary. As we are part of this magical universe, and we are spiritual beings, our self-worth is never at stake. Our value, our worth is never at stake. And something that myself, and my ego struggled a bit to accept was that no one is better or worse than anyone else. We're all equal. Our value and our worth is exactly the same. And our topic is about empathetic leadership as well. So when is our ability to empathize mostly at stake? It is mostly at stake when we believe that someone else has made a mistake, something that we perceive as a mistake. And the way we respond to this mistake, to the behavior of the other person, says a lot about ourselves. Because leadership is about self-leadership. That's how it starts. There is no leadership without self-leadership. But what is self-leadership? Self-leadership is repeatedly and relentlessly forgiving ourselves, not with the promise of, I will forgive you because you will not do it again. You will never know if you will not do it again. I forgive you anyway. And then understanding these mistakes, these situations we perceive as failures, learning from them, which then allows us, little by little, to give our higher self permission to come to the surface. When we're in leadership roles, whether it's in our family, whether we are in our workspace, or any other environment, very often we might be triggered by other people's mistakes. When we feel this trigger, this is a sign. I believe that our ego is like the red traffic light of our soul. This red traffic light, it shows us to stop, slow down, and do the work. What is this work? It's a work that allows us to change, to become the best versions of ourselves. And change comes when we're able to own our emotional brains by allowing ourselves to experience all the unpleasant emotions, whether it's anger, whether it's jealousy, whether it's sadness or anger, without the need to blame someone, including ourselves. Only when we allow this change to happen within us, we're able to really become leaders. Lead by example and create safe spaces for others to become the best version of themselves, thrive, whilst embracing their own uniqueness, not thrive the way we want them to thrive, not for our employees to thrive the way we want them to thrive, but the way they should thrive according to their own uniqueness, whilst allowing them, again, giving them permission to embrace their own mistakes and understanding that mistakes are just a way of the universe to redirect us to the right direction, that we're just in the wrong path, and this is absolutely fine. This is just part of the human experience and nothing more. And before I finish, I just want to finish with just a very short story. A couple of years ago, I was leading a team as I was working in a PR agency in London. And one of the people of my team had made something that he perceived as a mistake. And we knew that our client wouldn't be very happy. Our client was a leading global F&B brand. And he was very stressed out. So we went to a meeting room together to chat through this. And he asked me, Effie, is it the end of the world? As he was talking about his experience and what he was feeling. Is it really the end of the world? And I answered to him, it never is the end of the world. Because that's what I believe. When we make a mistake, it never is the end of the world. It only is the end of the world if we allow it to be. Please don't allow any of your mistakes to be the end of your world. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now it's time for Noma to come on stage. Noma is the co-founder and CEO of Las Plaza Integrated Industries, and she comes from South Africa, and probably didn't pronounce this correct, so please.
No, it's fine.
Correct me.
No, you did well. Good afternoon, everyone. This topic for me is quite personal. It's still a journey that I'm on, a journey of healing, and just a journey of, still discovering myself. And I think through this journey that I've been on, I've been able to also discover my calling. So it's very close to my heart. At the age of 22, I was appointed an HR manager at a multi-million rand foundry back in South Africa. And I had just finished, I've just qualified and finished school at the time, and I was just thrown into the deep end when I became an HR manager. And 6 months later, after setting up the company, because I didn't have an HR department, 6 months later the shareholder said, we'd like to appoint you as HR director. And I took up that opportunity with both hands, and I said, well, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, and I took it and I grabbed it and I ran with it. And during this time, I got invited into different industry events, and I noticed that those events, I was always the only, not just woman, but black person there. And the industry is very male dominated, and I was always just the only black person. I didn't understand. And for me, that was a transformational gap that I saw, and it was then that I decided that, well, I might as well, if I'm the only one here, then I might as well join these gentlemen and also be a part of this industry and this boys club and find out what it's all about. And that's when I approached my CEO that I was working for, and I said to him, I want to buy 26% of your company. And he laughed at me. And he said, where do you get the money from? You're so young. How are you going to afford to buy my company? And I went and I approached, back home we have what we call a different funding agencies. I approached IDC, and they gave me the money and I bought the company. And I was a 26% shareholder by the age of 23 in this big, big company. And look, we enjoyed a very good, healthy partnership with my business partner in the business. And at 27, I never imagined that I would be laying off 400 employees. I never imagined that that's what would happen, but that's what happened. At the age of 27, I had to tell 400 of my staff that, you know, we are struggling as a business and we're going to be laying them off. And I can stand here today and tell you that there's no business book, there's no mentor, there's no lawyer who can prepare you for that emotional roller coaster that you'll go through facing employees who are, you know, low income earners and who just want to have an opportunity to work. And that's what happened. And in our company, we literally looked after 80% of the community where we operated in. We're an industrial company, so where we were based, we literally affected about 2,000 families directly and indirectly through what we went through. And I remember I used to have sleepless nights, like I'm 27 years old, what am I doing, losing companies and retrenching people and letting go of people. And every single day I woke up, and I went to work and I faced my employees, and I faced the suppliers, and I faced the creditors, I faced everybody, you know, during that entire process. Because for me, it was a learning curve. It was part of the learning, and I decided that I'm going to face everyone, and I made sure that through that entire process that every single employee got paid, every single supplier did, but everybody who was owed money got paid. And that's what was important, and that's what happened. And when I was, you know, just looking back at the journey and what has happened, you know, I just sit and I'm like, well, the biggest lesson I probably have learned through this entire experience is that sometimes you have to go through the wilderness. Sometimes you have to go through that wilderness where you are thrown right deep into the pit, and it is just you, and it's just you, your thoughts, you yourself, where you're left to just think about your life and think about what is the next thing for me. But think about your life in a sober-minded way, because once you're in that wilderness, you have the opportunity to grow as a person, you have the opportunity to reflect. And as someone who was a young leader, I said to myself, well, I've gone through this, but I'm not going to just stop here. I'm just getting started. And I resurfaced and I came back, and I made it a point that every single employee that couldn't get a job, I made it a point that I helped them get a job. I helped them get their CVs right, and I helped them get a job. And I myself, because I've lost everything, I lost everything through that business opportunity, and I had to go and find a job. I had to go find a job and work for someone, and it's something that I never thought I would do, and I did that. I worked as a director in one of the biggest facilities management companies in South Africa, and I told the CEO, I'm just here for a year. I'm a businesswoman, I'm just here for a year, and after that year, I'm going back into business. And I spent that year collecting, my resources and saying, well, I'm going to rebuild it again, I'm going to start all over again, because I believe that every career or work that we do is a calling. And for me, business is a calling, and I made that decision that I'm going to go back into business. I'm not cut out to work for somebody. I don't like reporting to anybody, and I will never report to anybody. And I gave myself a year to prepare myself to go back. And for me, fortunately, because of the way I handled that entire, business rescue and liquidation process with my first company, I didn't know that the industry was watching me. And I got approached by a company in the pump space that was going through its own distresses. And they said, we want to work with you, and we want to partner with you. And I said, well, I'm very sorry, I lost all my money in my first business, so I don't have any money to put on the table to partner with you. And they said, no, we don't want your money, we want you, we want to work with you. And they said to me, our business is in a 38 million rand loss, and we want you to turn our business around. And I just sat down and I said to my husband, I don't want to go through this again. I've lost a lot of company, I've just lost the company, I don't want to go through this, what if this one also goes down? And that fear, was hindering me from taking that opportunity. But when I realized that, well, this is not just an opportunity, this is an opportunity to turn a failure into success. And I decided to take that opportunity, and I said to that company, the only way I'm doing this is if I'm able to turn this company around, I want 51% of it, and that's what happened. And today, I'm a co-partner, 51% of one of the biggest pumping businesses in South Africa, and we're operating in South Africa, in Ghana, and in Zambia as well. And I did it on my terms, and I did it on my rules, and I said, if I'm going to do it, this is how I will do it. And from a leadership perspective, the people that I had in the previous company, I started calling them, and I said, you're coming into this new baby now, the second baby I call it. You're coming here, and we're going to grow this together. And just from a leadership perspective, leadership is about heart. The people that work for you are the life of your business. And when you're able to serve your people, when you're able to care and love for your people, then those people will take you to the next level. And when I called those guys, even after everything that they went through, they said, we'll come and support you because of how I handled and how I treated them during that entire liquidation process. And today we're together and we're continuing with the new baby. And I just want to end. Off with a quote from Barbara Bush, the former First Lady of the United States, where she says, "Never lose sight of the fact that the most beautiful yardstick of your success will be how you treat people, and those people are your workers, your co-workers, even strangers. So it's very important that you treat people well, because those are the people that make you an empathetic leader." Thank you.
Wow, what an inspiring story from a very young woman. Thank you so much, Norma. And the next speaker is Roger. Roger is an international speaker, and he's the founder of The Life You Deserve. He comes from the UK and has a very inspiring message and a very inspiring story. So give him a round of applause.
Failure is a bad thing. Failure is not an option. There is no such thing as failure. If you've ever heard those sayings or anything similar, please raise your hand now for me. I think most of us have actually at least heard them. Well, I'd like to share with you today, if it wasn't for failure, I would no longer be alive. Now, I'd like to take you back to the 9th of June 2013, where you would find me taking my beloved black and white Patterdale Terrier dog, Jasper, out for his end of evening walk. You may even notice that both of us had a spring in our step, and for me, those were the days. What you can't have known is that wonderful walk would end with me becoming the victim of an attempted murder at the hands of 3 persons unknown, wearing masks and balaclavas and carrying fence posts and baseball bats. And that is why I embrace failure, because if they had succeeded in that attempt to murder me, I'd no longer be of this world, let alone sharing this talk with you this afternoon. Now, I'll leave to your imagination how bad the attack was, as the chances are, whatever you're imagining, it's probably nowhere near as graphic as what actually did happen. Suffice to say, I genuinely hope that you will never find yourself in a situation where you're laying in the road, listening to the sound of your own bones break, each time you swallow, tasting your own blood. But that's the situation you would have found me in on the 9th of June 2013, as I learned quite a dramatic lesson in developing empathy with fellow victims of crime. I'd just like to take a moment to stress that back then I was a victim of crime. Today I stand before you a victor of crime. And that may only be a small change in semantics. It's a big shift in mindset. So, whilst I didn't succeed in killing me that evening, obviously, they did succeed in hospitalising me for in excess of 3 months. And most of that 3 months was in isolation. And on top of everything else I was dealing with, within a week of being in there, I managed to go and contract myself MRSA. Yay! I swear blind the way things go in our house. Had Jasper not come to us pre-named, we'd have called him lucky. But we were lucky, and he made it straight back home to safety that night. And I just wanted to get that out of the way nice and early in the story, because I have such empathy with the animal lovers in the room. I just wanted to put you at ease before I carried on sharing with you about my 3 months plus in hospital. 3 months during which I was able to develop empathy, not only with fellow long-term hospital patients and with those facing loneliness and isolation in all aspects of life, but also with our amazing and mainly female, in the spirit of the talk, members of frontline health staff. I developed empathy with them as I'd lay there in that bed, night after night, listening to the cacophony of clattering bedpans, patient buzzers, and irate visitors raising their voices at the nurses as they couldn't get answers about their loved ones in the beds, simply because they were doing what they did best, caring. So after 3 months of building that empathy, on the 18th of September 2013, everything I'd dreamt of for over 3 months came true. I was discharged from hospital and I went home. I went home to carry on building on that foundation of empathy for the lonely and the isolated. As you see me wake up in the morning, yeah, back at home, but not in bed, in the family living room. That also had to serve as my bedroom, bathroom and toilet. I was living according to something known as a triangular living environment. Well, I don't know what your definition of living is, but mine certainly wasn't living between bed, wheelchair and the dreaded commode. You'd see me wake up as late as possible in the morning before staring at the magnolia walls reflecting my magnolia life, before going back to sleep as early as possible, just to make the days short enough to get through. And during that period of reflection and contemplation, you may or may not find this strange, but I developed empathy with a group of people who were the 3 people who tried to take my life on the 9th of June 2013, as I strongly believe that empathy leads to forgiveness. And if you were to see me now come across those 3 people, which could happen as they were never identified, let alone brought to justice, you would see a man before you who would be able to shake hands with them and thank them for the positive difference that they have made in my life. Because indirectly, they have led me to be able to become an empathic leader. And I deliberately use the variation of the word empathic rather than empathetic, because those last 3 syllables, pathetic, are one of those negative words that I refuse to accept. One of those negative words that your brain just does not accept. You know, you tell yourself, I don't want it to rain. It will rain. Try saying, I want it to stay fine. There's more chance of that happening. And if you think, if you're not a spiritual person, which is fine, and you think that's nonsense, if you're a dog owner, do me a favour when you're back home, tell your dog you're not taking it walkies and see what kind of response you get. But anyway, I digress a little. Nothing new for me. So yes, genuinely, I could shake them by the hand and forgive them, because they have led to me being an empathic leader. Someone who is able to lead by example when going to networking groups, mental health groups, and particularly of late when speaking in front of classrooms. I'm able to lead by example by sharing this very story when I speak to my audience about resilience and share with them my message of resilience, that choose how dark things get, not only can you get through it, you can emerge a stronger, more positive and improved version of yourself. And what better way to lead than by example? So before I finish this afternoon, I'd just like to share with you my 4-step process for how you can lead a life with more empathy. And life is the relevant word in that sentence, as it also forms the acronym that I use in that. The L standing for listen. Actually listen. When you ask a question, listen to the answer, and don't see the other person's answers as an interruption to the pre-prepared list of questions that you're going to ask anyway. If any of you are familiar with UK call centres, you'll know exactly what I mean with that one. The I standing for imagine. Imagine yourself in the situation of that other person. Not only how you would feel, but why you would feel that way, and what would make you feel just that little bit better. The F standing for find the commonality and focus on the things in common. Something that the media so often discourage, so happy to focus on the difference in colour, creed, religion, and obviously more relevant to this audience, gender. Don't look for the differences, look for the commonalities. And the final letter being E, exercise empathy. Ask the questions you've always asked, but with the slightest of tweaks, which shows that you're interested in the recipient as a person. And those 4 steps, ladies and gentlemen, are my recommendation as to how you may choose to lead a more empathic life. So in closing, I would just like to thank you for listening so attentively this afternoon, as in doing so, you have made my trauma count for something worthwhile, and for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roger. Roger is a living example showing that we always have a choice, no matter how traumatized an event is in our life, we always have a choice to turn our life around. And the last but not least speaker is Dia Richards, who comes from the UK, and she's the founder of the Journey Back to Source. The stage is yours.
Ladies, gentlemen, I thank you. It gives me great honor to stand here before you to share with you my thoughts on the topic, embracing failure for empathetic leadership. Raise your hand nice and high, ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever experienced failure. Nice and high? Good. Everyone has. And if I were to show you some tips, because I know failure for you has a connotation of something negative. So if I were to show you some tips to shift your views on what failure means currently for you, raise your hands, both hands, nice and high, if you will embrace that. Nice and high? Well done. You are indeed in the right place. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, failure is defined as not succeeding at a goal, not having the results which you're expecting for something that you so desperately wanted. But that's the normal definition and the day-to-day definition of what we call failure. But when you look at the word empathetic leadership, those 2 words, my view is that if we're going to deal with empathy, we must therefore look and review our perception of this word, failure. Does it really exist? In essence, from the perspective of the spiritual point of view, the soul point of view, do you think that God sees us, His children, His creations, at having the ability to fail. Ladies and gentlemen, you are most powerful individuation of an omnipotent force, an omniscient force. And being an individuation of that force, you have that power within you. Each and every single one of you has that power inside. And at a cellular level, you know that you have that power. You know this to be true. As God, you know all, you have been all, and you will be all. And if you are simple individuation of that force, how could you ever fail? Whatever you do. So why not? Why not tap in? Tapping into that force within inside of you, within your heart, will help you to shift your attitude towards what the societal ethos has defined as failure. And in doing so, we re-trigger and reignite automatically that God's self within you, where empathy is the only result. So who would like to know, show of hands, who would like to know how you can tap into your true essence, to re-trigger and wake up your true essence? Show of hands? Well done. You have come here. We have come here on this plane, which we call Gaia, Earth, coming away from your true essence to play a game. To play a game in forgetfulness, coming from the all-powerful source. When you are all, you will be all. There's nowhere else to go. So the best gift that you can give yourself in that state of existence is to come away from that state of existence, to slip away, to play a game. Playing a game of forgetfulness in order to go back to that source. And via the process of incarnation, and DNA triggering and reigniting, you get back. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 very simple points. How many points?
3.
On how we can get back, and how back in. You're able to review your thoughts and to see that nothing that you do can ever be constituted as a failure. Because what is happening in essence, having come away from that force, it is what is necessary for you to journey back to who you are intrinsically. So the first point is about your becoming self-realized. And in self-realization, we must look at the thoughts which you harbor. We must look at the chakras which make up your body and how they can be fed through, reignited, recalibrated in waking you up to your true essence. And we must look at our ability to surrender. You are what you think you are. So if you think you fail, that's what you realize, or that's what you live. And how you talk to each other, that's what you manifest. So how about we re-trigger and recarve the way and the manner in which we speak to each other. So when you experience something which the society will think that you failed, you set your exam, you didn't get 90%, you got 50%, you think you're a failure. After 11 years of marriage, you divorce, you think you're a failure. That society is rules for you. You're more than that. So what about replacing those thoughts with positive affirmations? I am a highly evolved being, reawakening to my God essence. How about that? I am the captain of my ship. Regardless of what you have done. And when you embrace such an attitude towards life, because without those attitudes, without those experiences, it makes no sense that you're here on Gaia. You come here for exactly that. To grow. So the sinusoidal waves, which like the currents and the eddies of life, sends us through, are integral parts of being on this three-dimensional plane of existence. There is no failure. It's about embracing forward and finding the balance and knowing then when you got the crest, there is automatically going to be the trough. So when we talk about the empathy there and leadership there, we're all leaders from the perspective that we will all, every single one of us, experience a trough and a crest in life. And our ability to be empathetic and compassionate is our ability to surrender, to get away from fear-based mentality, and to forget about ego. So there is no failure. We are all leaders because we are all here. We are all on the same path. We all have the same mission. By retriggering and recalibrating the DNA, individually, consciously, via positive affirmation, meditation, empathy is a direct result, because in doing just that, those 3 points, the thoughts, the DNA, the chakras, etc., and surrender, we are gradually waking up to our true essence, our God force. And God is compassion. God is empathy personified. You are compassion. And as personification of an individuation of that God force, you are empathy personified. Look again at how we see our troughs when they compare to the crest. We will never, ever, ever be able to have one without the other. When that happens, it means that you are no longer, as long as you're here on this plane, on earth, there is not one without the other. So why not? Embrace it then. Embrace it. That's why we are here, after all. That's the purpose for which you have consciously come. Ladies and gentlemen, before I break out, if you wish to know more about this journey from God, your true self, to this path, this journey back, I've got a group, and my colleague has a list. Just register your interest, and I will sign you up to my group, Journey Back to Soul, DNA Activation with DS for free. And let's share. After all, the path is the same. Let's embrace the ups and the downs of life. Without one, there isn't the other. And let's all see the leadership in us, the empathetic leadership, the compassionate leadership qualities within us. I thank you for your energy. I thank you for your time. And those who will work with me, it gives me great pleasure to do just that. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, I thank you.
Thank you so much, Diaz. And shall we give another round of applause for all the ladies? Just because we're running over, we can dedicate 2 minutes for questions if you have any for any of the speakers. Do you have any questions at all? No? Okay. So how about we take a picture of all of us here on stage? Would you like to come here on stage? Don't be shy.